I thought of you, yes, of you, listening in this moment, walking beside me in the spirit, breathing the same air of wonder. You may not have felt the breeze on your skin, but though my words through this journey, you have been here with me, step by step. You have walked the hidden path, side by side. You have stood in the shadows of palm, and together we have gazed at the cathedral of stars. Do you see it now? Do you feel it now? The desert is no longer far of a place. The Oasis is no longer hidden. It lives within you, as it lives within me. This was not the end of the story, but the beginning of many, many, for the world is vast, and his secret are countless. And each time I wonder, each time I discover, I will return to share it with you. Not in books, not in maps, but in the journeys of the soul, journeys where you close your eyes and let your spirit walk with mine, journeys where there is no distance, no separation, only the path, the silence, the wonder. So, listen closely. This was the hidden oasis, a pearl in the desert, a fragment of heaven upon earth, and I was carrying my heart. The desert has many secrets, and I will take you to them, step by step, story by story, breathe by breathe, for this is who I am, a traveler of the unseen, a keeper of whispers, and I promise to you, where I go, I will take you with me. Close your eyes once more. Can you hear the desert? The hush of the wind, the song of palm, the silence that is not silence. Yes, that is where we are. That is where we will always meet, not in the noise of the world, but in the secret journey that only the soul can walk, and this was only the beginning. So, come with me. Once upon a time, in a land where the sun reigned like a golden king, and the desert stretched as wide as eternity, I found myself drawn deeper into its embrace. This was not a journey of chance. It was too the desert itself had opened its arms to me, calling me not with words, but with light. For this desert was no stranger. It was close to my heart, woven into the fabric of my soul. Its sands were not barren dust, but jewels that caught the sunlight and scattered it in radiant sparks. Each grain seemed to glow, not merely reflecting light, but carrying a flame of its own, illuminating the spirit that gazed upon it. The desert is one of them, and within its silence, I felt the first whispers of a secret, something waiting, something hidden, like a bird dreaming in the deep. And so, my journey began. The discovery, I wandered farther than the eyes of men usually dare, past dunes that rose like mountains of gold, past valleys where silence slept in the folds of shadow, past the edge where even maps seemed to fade, and then I saw it, a glimmer, fragile as a dream, not a mirage, not the trick of a weary traveler's hope, but something real. It lay cradled in the heart of the desert, remote, veiled, untouched, a secret too shy for the word, too sacred for careless eyes. It was as though the earth herself had hidden in the way the sea hides its pearls, not scattered upon the shores, but guarded, locked in a shell of mystery, resting in the deep. Only those led by destiny could stumble upon it. There between the dunes stood palm trees, tall and gentle, their crowns swaying like guardians of paradise. From their branches hung dates, ripe and heavy like offerings on a divine table, soft, tender, golden. They looked as though the heaven themselves had lowered a feast upon a desert-specked plateau. I reached out, my hand brushing against the smooth skin of one. I plucked it gently, and when I tasted, sweetness bloomed across my tongue. It was no ordinary sweetness. It was honey laced with sunlight, amber musk carried in flavor, a taste so intoxicating that for a moment I was drunk, not with wine, but with wonder. And then I saw it at the heart of the oasis, a pond. Its waters were still like glass laid upon the earth. The sky leaned over it, its reflection painted in liquid silver. White birds came to drink, their wings gliding gracefully, casting ripples that shimmered like diamonds. The air was alive with their calls, gentle, melodic, hymen too pure for human tongue. The oasis breathed, not as land breathes, but as a soul breathes. Its silence was not empty, it was full of whispers, full of light, full of secret promise. And as I stood there, my heart asked itself, I had stepped into the world, into the peace of heaven, the breath of paradise. Beyond the shelter of the trees, the desert wind was merciless. It burned across the dunes like fire, a furnace that swallowed every breath. Yet when it reached the oasis, something miraculous happened. The heat broke, the fury softened, and the wind charged and changed its nature. As though it had been touched by mercy, it brushed through the palms, rustling their leaves into gentle whispers. It danced across the pond, sending ripples of silver into the mirror water, and suddenly, the wind that once seared the skin, it was cool, but more than cool, it was sacred. Its refreshes, and its refreshness was not of this world. I felt as though heaven itself had leaned down to exhaled. And the heart of the desert, each breath I took, carried with it something unspoken, something unseen. It was not only air, it was serenity. It did not merely fill the lungs, it quenched the soul. The tiredness of my journey resolved. The thirst that no water could satisfy was washed away by the invisible grace, and deep inside, I felt as though my spirit was drinking from the very streams of paradise. I closed my eyes, letting the breeze pass over me. It was cool against my skin, but warmer than love in my chest. It was the kind of air that did not only touch the body, it healed the unseen wounds of the heart. And I thought to myself, this cannot be ancient. To be lead here, to feel this, to stand in the very breath of divine, this was not chance, this was guidance, this was blessing. I was not lost in the desert, I was brought to the oasis. I had not stumbled here by wandering. I had been called, let sleep, and step by step into a secret meant only for me. With you, in that moment I stood in a way, drunk not with sweetness, not with fragrance, but with the wonder itself. And I asked my heart again, is this the world, or is this the heaven? Dawn arrived, not with noise, but with silence so delicate that even the birds hesitated to break it. The sky was soft, a canvas washed with pale gold and silver. The pond mirrored it, turning into liquid light that trembled with the first touch of day. I awoke to the sound of wings, gentle splashes as white birds. The air smelled of dew, fragrance the desert rarely knows. It carried with the sweetness of dates. In those mornings I felt freeborn. The desert outside the oasis remained endless and harsh, but here I tasted it. I tasted what it meant to awake, not into the world, but into paradise. By midday, the sun stood high, a cross of fire blazing across the sky. The desert roared with heat, but within the oasis, time seemed to move differently. The palms stood tall, casting wide shadows that become sheltering tents of green. I lay upon the soft earth, listening to the gentle murmur of leaves brushing against one another, as if they spoke in secret tongue. The pond glittered, its surface shifting into 1,000 stars, a galaxy spun across water. The birds hid in the branches, resting in the hush of the shade. Even the wind was quiet, holding its breath, as if not to disturb the sanctity of the high. The hours stretched long, but they were never heavy. It was not the stillness of emptiness, but of peace. The world outside no longer mattered. Here, I was not a wanderer, I was a guest in God's hidden garden. When the sun sank, the desert transformed. Darkness did not fall harshly. It descended softly, like a velvet cloak drawn across the earth. The pond caught glass in bursts of daylight, turning into liquid fire, before surrendering to the blackness, and then the heavens opened. The heavens above me stretched a dome of stars, so vast, so infinite, that my breath caught in a way. Each star burned like a lantern, each constellation a scripture written in light. The sky was not empty, it was alive. I lay upon the sand, the cool earth cradling me. The palms whispered faintly, singing with the breeze. The birds were silent now, their voices resting as if they too looked upward in worship. In that cathedral of night, I felt no loneliness. The stars were a companion, the silence was a hymen, and the desert, that endless ocean of gold, day by day became an ocean of black velvet by night, studded with diamond. There I spoke no words, for none were needed. It was enough to breathe, to feel, to simply exist in the embrace of eternity. As the day drifted within the hidden heaven, I came to see with clear eyes. This was not a place, one fine accident. No footsteps had led here before mine. I asked myself, had I chosen this path? What had the path chosen me? Every grain of sand, every whisper of wind, every flicker of the light on the pond seemed to speak one truth, that this was destiny, not chance. When the hot wind turned cool upon my skin, when the dates melted like honey on my tongue, when the silence sang like a hidden hymen, I knew I had not wandered here alone. I had been led, guided by hand unseen, brought to a gift too rare for the careless word, brought to a gift too rare for careless word. And in my heart a question pulsed, what is this place? Was it of the earth or of the paradise? And I whispered, not to myself, but to the silence, to the desert, to whatever holy presence was listening within that place. Am I still in this world? Am I? Days passed, though I did not count them. Time within the Oasis was not measured in hours, but in breaths, in glimmers of light upon the pond, in the gentle rustle of palms that spoke like storyteller to the wind. But every journey, not matter how sacred, carries within it a departure, and so came the moment when I knew I must leave. The morning of my departure was still, the sky glowed pale, and the pond shimmered softly. I knelt beside the pond, touching its cool surface. With my fingers, the ripples sprayed outward, small circles reaching across the water, what the eye can see. I looked once more at the palms, the dates hanging like jewels, the silent gardens of paradise. They had fed me, sheltered me, and gifted me the sweetness of heaven. I whispered my gratitude, not in words alone, but in the stillness of my heart. And as I walked, I thought of you,